we get this question a lot from students. They've overheard that you can't get a job
Mm,
whilst you're studying at Cambridge.
mm,
A job in that, if I'm a student and I was to also work at a restaurant or at a cafe, the college would not want me to do that.
mm.
Is that the case?
Yeah, it is the case at Cambridge. It's simply because the terms here are quite short. So we just have 3 8-week terms. And really the bulk of the sort of teaching and learning takes place in the first 2 of them. So in total, that's just a 16-week period in 2 separate chunks, where the bulk of, the lectures happen and the supervisions happen and all of that stuff. And then in the third term, there's sort of 4 weeks when some revision happens. And then there's 4 weeks when students take exams. So it's a really sort of compressed amount of time that students have to sort of learn the things they need to learn. And it would just basically be impossible to have, well, certainly be impossible to have a full-time job
Yeah.
and do that. And in most cases, it would just be impossible to have a part-time job and do that. The students here are, of course, able to get jobs during the vacation periods. So, when they go home or whatever, they're absolutely free to get some sort of employment then, and the vast majority do, because it gives them a little bit of money to help with various costs during the following term. So that's fine. It's just during term itself. And so, yeah, the students aren't allowed to have kind of, paid employment really in a significant way. There are a few ways in which they can earn a little bit of money while they're students during term, though. So this varies a little bit from college to college, but there are often some opportunities within the college itself just to make a little bit of money. Often it's things like helping out behind the bar or something like that, or in some colleges maybe helping out in the library. But that would only ever be for really quite short shifts, like maybe an hour or a couple of hours. It's not going to be like a half a day or something. So that's a slight sort of slight deviation from the kind of hard line. And I think these days, lots of people do stuff for fun as hobbies that can bring them in a little bit of money as well. I'm thinking of people who sort of create music in their room, like their bedroom at home, but they could easily do that in their bedroom here at Cambridge, and then maybe put it online, and maybe that brings in a little bit of money from hits that they get from whichever online platform. We tend not to view that, I guess, as like a job. There isn't an employer as such. There isn't a contract. You're not expected to be in a particular place at a particular time from like 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's more just like a sort of hobby stroke side hustle thing. So I think there are fewer constraints around that. And if we found that a student was doing something like that to such an extent that it was undermining their academic work, then that's where there might be a few conversations involving the kind of support team that I mentioned, because we wouldn't want the student to really underperform in their university exams because they're giving 80% of their time to sort of writing music online or whatever they're doing. There's a whole load of things they could be doing. So a lot of it comes down to just being sensible and making good decisions and getting the balance right between the things that are focused on the academic work, which is the main reason why the students are here, and the other stuff that they do as sort of extracurriculars and stuff they do for fun and hobbies. It's just for all students, it's just a question of making sure that balance is right.
Yeah, I mean, I think if students get, I don't know, I think our prospective students don't quite understand. They might think like, if I can't get a job, but what if I need the money? Like, this doesn't add up. Like, what would I do in that situation? I think the idea is that I think students, prospective applicants don't realize how much support Cambridge are willing to offer. Like, if you're like no college, no tutor, no academic wants a Cambridge student to feel like they need to get a part-time job
Exactly.
in order to
Exactly.
keep things afloat. Like if you're in that position, the thing to do would be to communicate that
Yep.
with your tutor, or like someone in the college that you feel comfortable talking to about that financially you're struggling to make ends meet, and and a solution will be found to that one way or another
Yep.
that won't require you to get a job. And that,
Exactly. We'd like it to be the case, and it usually is the case, that students here just don't need to have a
exactly.
part-time job or a full-time job during term, because we give them the financial support they need to ensure that that's something that just isn't necessary.
Yeah. And I also think it's so when I was a student, I think the idea of also working for an employer, like in a hospitality job, um, the pressures are quite intense. Like from your manager, like you've got to be there on time.
Yeah.
If you're a few minutes late, you're going to get a telling off. It's a real extra responsibility added on to an already intense schedule with your academic responsibilities and any societies you're a part of. I think most people, they have their academic, like studying parts of their lives, and they have their downtime, societies, meeting friends, hobbies, etc. And I think in the 8-week terms that balance works really well.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if you happen to make money from like your hobbies, brilliant. Like I know friends who were in bands, and they were able to get ball tickets without having to pay because they were performing.
Yep.
I know vloggers who enjoy vlogging, and their like YouTube pops off. And yeah, like musicians, etc. Like who it's just and that's very different to getting like being under employment.
Exactly.